So what's not to like about the Florida manatee? They eat 5 to 10% of their body weight every day. They fart a lot, and they're still loved by millions. And in the United States, the Florida manatee is rather well studied, and there are multiple organizations dedicated to their conservation and management. But were you aware that there are 4 other species related to the Florida manatee? And for some of these species, like the Amazonian or the African manatee, we barely have any information about the size of their population or even what's important habitat. And scientists estimate that due to human impacts, these populations will continue to decline. The problem is, visual survey methods using boats or airplanes can be rather expensive, particularly for developing countries. And in some areas, these species are still hunted by humans, which makes them even more difficult to find. So what can we do? So an inexpensive solution to mediate this problem is to use an autonomous recorder that passively records the sounds that animals produce. Well, maybe not sounds of flatulence. However, scientists have been using the sounds of other marine mammals to determine their presence in an area, estimate number of animals, and even identify individuals. But for this to work effectively, you have to know the vocal repertoire of your species and how they use their calls. And although we know Florida manatees make sounds that are similar to other manatee species, we really don't know the extent of their vocabulary or even less about which calls are important to them when they're interacting with other animals. So that's why, in our lab, we use a series of underwater microphones to record both wild and captive manatees, to classify their calls, and to correlate it with behavior. And what we're finding is although Florida manatees have 5 different call types, they predominantly only use 1 or 2 of them, regardless of the behavior that they're engaged in. And one of those call types, this hill-shaped call behind me, we're finding is used by calves in their first few months of life. Scientists can now use this information to put out multiple recording devices and cover large areas and leave them unattended for up to 3 months at a time. Now, we'll still probably need additional methods to estimate a true population size, but at least we'll know where to start looking. And more importantly, from these recordings, we'll know if there are future generations of manatees. You know, manatees and the related species have been on this planet for over 50 million years. Let's make sure they're around for the next 50. Thank you.